Hi there. My name is Maxwell M.C. Smitherman, and I'm the author of A Demon Did My Homework. And today I will be reading, well, the piece, thanks to the publication in the Red Wheelbarrow that I received. So here goes. I always imagined that if I sold my soul, it would be to save the world, or to time travel, or something of equivalent awesomeness, not to pass the 8th grade. "Hey, Nimrod, what's the deal?" echoed the serpentine voice in my skull. "Shut up! I'm trying to think," I hissed back. I was alone in the school bathroom for now, leaning over one of the functioning sinks with maggots squishing around in my stomach. Everything felt really big right now. The lights were too harsh, and I was somehow hot and cold at the same time. I stared at myself in the mirror, my dark hair falling over my face like a curtain, but I could still make eye contact with my reflection. Inside the shivering blue of my eyes, I saw a faint swirl of purple smoke coil around my pupils. That smoke was Korvax, the demon that had been riding shotgun in my brain for the past few weeks. "Come on, Jeffrey, buddy, I can hear your thoughts and you're thinking way too loud right now. Slow it down and talk to me, pal." Korvax's voice echoed and reverberated like he was somehow underwater, even though he was in my head. "What are we gonna do?" I asked, desperate. "If they know that I've been cheating somehow—" "Hey," he interrupted, offended. "What did we talk about? You're not cheating, remember? You have a very engaged and effective tutor." Purple smoke poured out of my reflection's ears and coalesced into a translucent blob that floated over my shoulder, attached to the back of my neck. Two shining golden eyes winked open and a grinning mouth spread over the blob. "Yeah, whatever," I said, swatting over my shoulder, my hand passing through his form like it would through smoke. "Still, I can't just tell people a demon did my homework. They'll think I'm crazy, and if my dad finds out..." I gulped and felt the blood drain from my face. I don't even want to think about that. "Yes, the wizard becoming aware of my presence and our partnership would be less than ideal, which is precisely why we will not allow that to happen. Correct?" Yeah, yeah, okay, I said. I felt sick to my stomach. I hated everything about what was going on, but I needed to pass my classes, and Korvax was the only way I could do that, so in for a penny, in for a pound, I guess. I checked my watch. My parent-teacher-student meeting was supposed to start 5 minutes ago, which meant my dad was probably getting to school about now. He had a bad case of chronic lateness with everything that wasn't his work. "Kid, hey," Korvax said. I looked at the form he'd taken in the mirror. He was still smiling. "I got this, and so do you, all right? We're in this together, and I've got everything you need to make it out of this suspicion-free and with passing grades." "You do?" "Absolutely." The smile on his purple form widened. "You just have to let me help you." I nodded, trying to gather my resolve. I'd gotten Korvax's help dozens of times now, and it wasn't really a big deal. Honestly, I just had to lend him some energy and he would give me some knowledge in return. It was no big deal. It even feels pretty great. As a wizard's apprentice, I have a little energy to spare, and I don't focus all too well most of the time. Trying to remember all the facts we learn in school is ridiculously hard. Impossible, even. But with Korvax's help, I can remember everything. Heck, I even know things we haven't learned about yet. And I don't even have to study. I can read fun books and watch shows and play with my friends and still pass all my classes. It's great. I bet with his knowledge, I could even figure out how to build my own computer from spare parts found in a dumpster. How cool would that be? But I know what my dad would think. He doesn't like it when people make deals with entities like Korvax. He's a real wizard, like Merlin or Doctor Strange. It's pretty cool. No one knows about his magic, or any magic, unless they have to deal with something weird or spooky, and then he usually helps them. He's a freelancer, basically, at least that's what he tells the other adults, which is his code for being a wizard for hire. A lot of the jobs he ends up taking actually involve helping people deal with entities like the one sitting in my skull. But he won't have to help me with Korvax. He's got enough on his plate, and I know a lot about demons and stuff, not like the people who lose to them. I'm the son of Callahan Weird the Wizard. I can handle a simple deal with Korvax. Okay, help me, I said to Korvax's image in the mirror. His smile widened and his form zipped back into my ears. I could hear the rush of energy as he flew through my mind, and the whole world began to spin. My chest became tight, and suddenly gravity pulled on me twice as hard. I barely held myself up on the sink as my vision tunneled, but in a second it was over, and I felt good. Everything was going to turn out great. I was sure of it. I picked up my backpack, slung it over my shoulder, and strode out of the bathroom and into the empty school halls with newfound confidence. I walked to Mrs. Fay's room, the teacher who had gotten suspicious of my grades, suddenly going from C's and D's to straight A's. I walked past the row after row of green lockers and nodded to a few people I recognized as I passed and said hi to friends. Most everyone else had gone home or was heading home, and the only people left were stragglers, teachers, janitors, and me. As I rounded the corner that led to Mrs. Fay's room, I saw that my father was also on that list. My dad is a tall guy, and his height is accentuated by the long overcoat that billows beneath his knees. He wears it everywhere. He's got a hat, too, one of those flat caps you see in movies that take place in old London. He walks around with a cane. It's very Victorian. It's not really a cane, though. It's his wicked cool wizard staff that focuses his magic. My dad has the coolest toys. As he saw me around the corner, a smile touched his mouth, and the wariness in his features vanished. He wasn't accustomed to being in places filled with so many normal people, and as I saw him, I felt Korvax writhe inside of me, recoiling in a mixture of volatile fear and anger. "Wizard," I heard him hiss. "Hey," I called out in my thoughts. "Leave my dad alone." He didn't like me talking to him like that, and I felt him pinch my brain in frustration. I tried to smile back at my dad while I walked up to him, but I knew worry was written all over my face. "Hey, kiddo, how are you doing?" he said, pulling me into a half hug as I reached him. "I'm okay, Dad. How are you?" "Oh, I'm doing just fine. Do you know what this meeting is about?" He looked down at me, searching my gaze. "Not sure, but this is her room." I shied away from his eyes and pointed to the door in front of us as an excuse. He nodded. "Okay, well, I guess we'll learn something new together." He gently clapped me on the shoulder and knocked on the door. "It's been a while since I've been in school." "That's what happens when you're as cool as me." He smiled and winked at me. I laughed and rolled my eyes while my heart began to race. "Here we go," I thought to Korvax. "All right, pal. Just calm down and don't give us away. If you start floundering, just hand the wheel over to me. Sound good, bud?" He muttered back. "Wait, hand him the wheel? What did that mean?" Before I could ask him or think too much about it, the door opened and in front of us stood Miss Fay. She was tall too, but not as tall as my dad. And she wore nice clothes, like always, and had her red hair tied back in a ponytail. Her startling green eyes took in my dad and me in, and then she smiled and held out her hand to him. "Mr. Weird, I presume?" she asked. My dad took her hand, and they exchanged introductions. Both of them were very polite and formal. I was too busy trying to tune out the ringing in my ears to listen. She led us into the room, shutting the door behind her, and sat us down in front of her desk. My dad squirmed into the too small middle school seat and took in the orderly classroom around him. Miss Fay taught us science and had planets hanging from different parts of her ceiling and all these different colorful models from every scientific field I could think of. She sat down behind her desk and took out a folder with my name on it. Gulp. "So," she started, opening the folder, "let's talk about the recent change in your grades, Jeffrey." Sweat immediately started to beat up on my temple, but I took a breath and tried to stay calm. My dad looked at us, confused. "Wait," he said. "I thought his grades were getting better." "Yes, they are." Miss Fay laid out a test I'd bombed before Korvax. "Almost too good." Then she laid out a test we'd taken a couple days ago, which had a perfect score. "About 2 weeks ago, Jeffrey's grades made stark improvement, from C's and D's to straight A's. As you can see here, even perfect scores." "This unit makes more sense to me," I heard myself say. "And that meeting I had with the school counselor really woke me up." And that was true. The counselor had come to me telling me I was going to be forced to repeat the 8th grade if I didn't start doing dramatically better in all my classes. It's why I called up Corvax in the first place. Well, I think it did wake you up. I don't believe you when you say that this unit makes more sense to you. She pulled out another folder and laid out an assignment for my math class, which I had also aced. Gulp. Then one for my history class and my English class, all with perfect scores. Double gulp. Because it seems like you've been getting perfect scores in all your classes all of a sudden. Almost like you have access to the answers. You think he's cheating? My dad asked, his brow furrowing as he went over the papers. In a manner of speaking, yes, Miss Fay said. That gave me pause, and I could feel Korvac's pause as well. What did she mean, in a manner of speaking? Did she know about Korvac somehow? No, Korvac hissed in response to my thoughts. She's mortal. She can't know about me. What, did he steal an answer key or something? My dad asked, looking to me after he said it, hints of anger starting to show through his expression. That hit me like a punch in the gut, and I felt the confidence I gained from Korvac's power begin to wane. I don't think it's quite that simple, Miss Fay said, pointing to the most recent test. This was a pop quiz, one I'd created without an answer key to test that very theory before calling you here, and he still got a perfect score. Well, maybe he's just a smart kid. I happen to know him very well, and intelligence is one of his key attributes, my dad said hotly. A small smile tugged at the corners of my mouth, but it vanished quickly as the pain set in. It felt good to have him believe in me like that, but I knew he was wrong. I was only doing well in school now because of a demon, the exact thing he spent his days fighting. I never said he wasn't smart, Miss Fay said hastily. But I think something is off here. She paused, pursing her lips as if thinking carefully about her next words. Mr. Weird, you work in an unconventional field, correct? Everything got very quiet and still all of a sudden. My heart skipped a beat, and I don't even want to know what was going on in my dad's head. I glanced over to him and saw his fingers grip tightly on his staff, and the other hand unconsciously flexing and relaxing underneath the desk. I'm a freelancer, if that's what you mean, my dad said cautiously. Yes, and you're a freelancer in a rather interesting area, as far as I'm aware. Miss Fay leaned back in her chair, maintaining eye contact with my dad. I believe you helped an old friend of mine out with a problem when she was having it home with an uninvited guest. She examined his expression as a look of recognition flashed over his face. That is my specialty. Why do you ask? He was speaking slowly, trying to gauge the new nature of the situation. I was just glad the spotlight was no longer on me for the moment. It gave me the chance to... I cheated, I blurted out, to everyone's surprise, especially my own. Suddenly, everything sounded very far away, and I felt a throbbing pain explode behind my eyes as words were drawn out of my lips without asking me first.